Hello, friends. Welcome to Green on the Greens. Travelers Championship KPMG Women's PGA Championship this week as well. So we got some golf to talk about. Joined once again, Cody Williams. What's going on?
I've been spent the last couple of days absolutely thanking Gambler that I was not on Rory McIlroy for the
Yeah.
third straight major to win outright because I might not be here today. I might not have made it to the show.
Yeah, one of the all-time choke jobs, heartbreakers. My heart goes out to anyone who had Rory McIlroy. I thankfully got off the Rory McIlroy train at majors 2 years ago. I think I officially said Rory McIlroy is probably going to win another major, but I will not be betting on him when it happens because of exactly that. He chokes in the big spots at majors, and this was the biggest one yet. Missing two 4-foot putts inside 4 feet.
One was inside 3. The one on 16 was 2 feet 11 inches.
That's tough. Those two misses, loses by one, and then still, even with those two misses, he had there was a pretty good chance. I thought it was going to go to playoff. I thought Bryson was going to bogey that last hole, hit one of the greatest up and downs from the bunkers of all time in major history. A 55-yard bunker shot. Is there a shot that's more difficult than that? I don't think so. He did it to win the U.S. Open. Hats off to Bryson DeChambeau. And Cody, speaking of which, hats off to you. I think actually last week for this season might have been the best overall collective that we've done on this show. You hit Russell Henley top 20 plus 250, finished T7. You had DeChambeau top 10, that cashed at 2-1. Obviously, would have been nice if he was your pick, either top 5 or to win. But hey, a win's a win. We'll take that. You almost hit Hideki Matsuyama top 5 as well. One stroke, he finished solo 6. That would have been a plus 650 winner. And then I got on the board. Only one winner for me, but it was a good one. Corey Connors to finish inside the top 10 at 6-1. That was a pretty good bet for me. Only one winner there, but 6-1. Certainly walk away with a pretty solid profit there last week. So, and Cody, not only did you get 2 wins with Henley and DeChambeau, you got closest to the win on me as well with Bezaidnout. He finished T32 or something like that. It was like a couple strokes ahead of my pick, Ryan Fox. Both our guys made the cut, but Bezaidnout did edge out Ryan Fox there by a couple strokes. So you did close the gap. It is now 11-5 and closest to the win. You're still alive, barely, but still alive and close to the win. Yeah.
Yeah, just barely. And I also want to give you credit because I know on Saturday night, Sunday morning, you said that the live bullet to fire, it wasn't fun, but it was Bryson. Yeah, and you were absolutely spot on with that. So, give you your kudos there because you called that as well.
Yeah, I'm not going to do a victory lap about a minus 110 bet, but I mean, most of the time when I do give out live bets, either before the weekend or before Sunday, I search for value somewhere on the board. But after the first 3 rounds with DeChambeau with that lead, I actually thought the value was at a minus 110 price. I thought he should have been favored by a little bit more. And it was a little bit closer at the end than I thought it would have been, and kind of needed the Rory choke, but I did get in on some live Bryson action. My good friend from Italy is in the chat for the first time in Green on the Greens. I bet Cody Williams can speak Italian because of his mustache. Can you confirm or deny, Cody?
I can neither confirm nor deny, but I'm going to lean towards I cannot speak Italian. I can barely speak English, Francesco, and I apologize.
Francesco, regards from Italy. There is no tomorrow, and as always, he likes to quote 300. Thank you. Thanks for tuning in, Francesco. We got to get you on the show sometimes. Maybe he's a big Molinari fan. Just share the same name as him, Francesco Molinari. So,
hey, Molinari delivered one of the best moments of the weekend at the US Open. Absolutely, making the cut with a hole-in-one on his final hole. What a scene!
Yeah, I don't think enough people talked about how crazy that is. First of all, the 9th or 18th hole is almost never a par 3. I mean, I don't think it ever is the 18th, but very rarely the 9th hole is the par 3. And to step up to the par 3, the last hole of your round, needing a literal hole-in-one to make the cut on the line, and you make it, that I don't think that's ever happened before in PGA Tour history or in golf history, professional golf history.
Definitely not recorded. Data Golf tweeted out after the fact that it was a 0.02% chance of him making the cut when he stepped onto the 9th tee. So that's the odds were of him hitting the hole-in-one, essentially.
I mean, I'm sure there probably weren't many people out there with a bet, but imagine if he had a Francesco Molinari to make the bet, or to make the cut bet. That would have been an all-time winner.
What if you had the parlay of make the cut and a hole-in-one? You just cash them both with that one shot. Let's go.
Or on the flip side of it, if you had a bet on him to miss the cut, which was probably the more popular bet, I would guess, of the two. Yeah. Bet on that guy to miss the cut, and he gets a hole in one on the last hole of round 2. Unbelievable.
Beat right there.
But yeah, let's move on. It is the Travelers Championship this week. It is the final PGA Tour signature event of the year, and then we go into a couple of duds, and then we head into the Europe swing with the Scottish Open in the Open Championship, aka the British Open, next month. And it is also the third major of the women's golf season, so we're going to give it a pick for that at the end of the show as well, the Women's PGA Championship. But let's get into it here, Cody. I'm kind of looking at the list of our picks here. Especially myself, a couple repeat names from last week, because if you're going to have a good week in golf betting, you're kind of tempted to run it back with a couple of guys. So we have done that. Your top 20 pick is a new name, though, that we haven't talked about in a few weeks.
Yeah, I'm going with Adam Svensson at plus 275 to finish in the top 20. His form hasn't been incredible, but he's coming in off of 5 straight made cuts, including at the U.S. Open. He also finished top 30 at the Memorial and at Charles Schwab. But the numbers are just kind of seem like someone who we've talked about previously. He has a ball striker's DNA, and it seems like he's trending to really getting into form. Last 20 rounds, he's 21st in strokes gained off the tee, 13th in strokes gained approach. And then more importantly for TPC River Highlands, because this is a short course with a lot of short par 4s, he is 9th in this field over the last 20 rounds and scoring on 450-yard par 4s. And he's also 18th in scoring on approaches from 150 to 175. He's not the most accurate driver, but I expect him and a lot of longer hitters to be hitting 3-wood off the tee, because this course is so short. It's 6,800 and change in terms of the yardage book, some 800 yards shorter than what they played last week at Pinehurst. And I think he's going to be having 3-wood. So I think that 150 to 175 range is going to be very key for him specifically. And so the fact that he excels there catches my attention. He hasn't had a ton of success at this tournament. He has 2 missed cuts, but he also does have a T25. So he does have it in his ability to succeed here. So I'm kind of taking a little bit of a flyer on Adam Svensson. Signature event, only 68 players in the field. Tried to find some value there.
Yeah, tough to have some long odds to finish top 20 here in this shorter field, and that's going to be kind of the case for my pick as well. Only plus 125 odds, but it is a type of bet that I love doing at events, and it's just to take last year's winner of the tournament, take him top 20 the next year. He's going to be comfortable. He's going to feel confident. So that's what I'm doing this week. Like I said, not the sexiest odds in the world, plus 125, but Keegan Bradley, plus 125. He won this event last year. He should have been on the Ryder Cup because of this win last year. He was not chosen to be on the Ryder Cup. Zach Johnson proven to be one of the worst captains in history. The episodes leading up to the Ryder Cup on Full Swing, the Netflix documentary, it's hilarious because you can see Zach Johnson is just a dork that wants to be a cool guy. So he put the cool guys of the PGA Tour on the Ryder Cup with his captain's picks, and it bit him in the butt. Keegan Bradley should have been on that team. You can get him plus 125 to finish in the top 20 this week. He's been playing the past 2 events, not great, but the U.S. Open and the Memorial, I don't think were tournaments that maybe fit his style of play the best. Before that, he was T2 at the Charles Schwab Challenge, T18 at PGA Championship, T21 Wells Fargo, and still the last couple events, not bad performances, T43 and T32. So it's not like he's missing the cut. And obviously, fantastic history here. Won it last year, but it wasn't just that win in his history. His T19 here in 2022, T2 in 2019, T8 in 2017, T18 in 2013. Obviously, got to go back a little bit ways for that one, but still solid history at TPC River Highlands. Makes a lot of sense this week. Not getting too aggressive with them, especially with this being a signature event. A lot of top names here, but top 20 plus 125s, I think, is a pretty fair bet.
Yeah, absolutely. And there's a reason he plays well up here. This is like his Super Bowl. This is the home game models off the charts for him. He's a big New England guy. Celtics just won an NBA championship. The vibes are going to be high for him. So, yeah, I think I don't hate this at all, especially getting a little bit of plus money on it.
Yep, for sure. All right, let's move on to top 10. You are going back to the well on a guy who cashed for you last week.
Absolutely. And honestly, I feel like I should just bet him every week with the way he's playing. Russell Henley, plus 200 for a top 10. When you think of a shorter course that demands accuracy and to fire at pins, that's what Russell Henley does. That's his game. He's not a long hitter, but he is one of the most accurate drivers on the PGA Tour. I believe he's 5th in driving accuracy this year on the PGA Tour. but everything just kind of checks out. He has a great history at Travelers, 4 top 20 finishes and 6 starts here, including a T11 and a T6, and he's been T19 in each of the past 2 years here. And I think he's even better. I think he has leveled up a little bit this season. Last 20 rounds, he's 9th in this field in strokes gained approach. He's 2nd in scoring from 125 to 150 and still in the top 30 in terms of his approach numbers from 150 to 175 yards. And I just think that we saw him shoot, I'm pretty sure it was the round of the day or one of the rounds of the day on Sunday at the U.S. Open at Pinehurst. And I think that the fact that he was able to shoot that while not in contention, not feeling the pressure of contention and being in a major, like he was never really a threat to win, but he just, vaulted up the leaderboard. I think that's a good sign, especially coming back to a place where he has really good feels. So Russell Henley top 10 for plus 200.
No complaints for me. I'm a Russell Henley guy. I agree with everything that you said. So I will not push back on this pick. I like it. We got a top 10 pick in the chat here. Paul says, give me Brian Harman, top 10 plus 300. Course is an ideal fit for him with driving distance not at the forefront and a gettable course from strokes gained putting. Course history is unbelievable. 5 top 10s and last 6. Paul, once again, our minds are locked, buddy, because my top 10, Brian Harman, plus 250. I got plus 250, Paul. I'm guessing the odds you're citing are dead heat rules apply if it's at like DraftKings or most sportsbook. So that's why plus 250 odds I have are ties included, just in case we sneak in there with a T10. I want the full payout. And I'll take a little bit of a pay cut for that. But yeah, Paul, we both like Brian Harman. I don't really have anything else to say to add to what you said. Fantastic course history here. Sometimes, and this seems to be one of the courses where there are guys who just play well here every single year. It used to be Bubba Watson. Bubba Watson was the automatic bet every single year at the Travelers Championship. Bubba Watson now over at Live, and obviously, a little bit past his prime to say the least, so he will not be competing this week. But there are a couple of guys, and Brian Harman's not the only example, like Patrick Cantlay, which I don't think either of us are picking on the show. I don't want to spoil anything. But Patrick Cantlay, another guy who's like top 15 every single year here at Travelers Championship. So this is one of those courses that you can get a guy who plays well almost every single year, and that is certainly Brian Harman. He has finished, as you mentioned, Paul. He finished I went 3 top 5 and 6 top 10 finishes here the last 9 seasons, including a T2 finish here last year. Now his form does concern me a little bit, which is why, at least for the show, I'm sticking to top 10. I sprinkled a little on him right as well, to be honest, but. Top 10 or top 20 might be the way to go because his form isn't great. It's not bad. It's been consistent. He's been in the top 35 in 4 straight events, but he hasn't really been in contention on the weekend at all. But hey, if there's an event where he's going to do that, it would be this week at the Traveler. So Brian Harman, I'm going to play it relatively safe with him this week. Top 10 plus 250.
I'm in on this because little pre-production show notes. I was on Brian Harman top 10 as well. So we both like this pick a lot. One thing in terms of his form that I did note, in this field, he strokes on the last 20 rounds. He's 15th in strokes gained on approach. So his approach play is kind of peaking a little bit. And I think it's everything else that kind of needs to, get in line in terms of his short game specifically. But with how well he's played at this course, this is the perfect place for him to get that right.
Yeah. I agree. All right, let's move on to top 5. You're getting aggressive. Actually, with your pick to win and your top 5. We'll get to the pick to the win here in a little bit. But I know we've had some chalky picks here to start the show. If you want some picks with some big payouts, they start now. What's your top 5 pick?
That is Akshay Bhatia at 11-1 for a top 5. Look, I modeled this out, and Akshay Bhatia is not really high on the model, but I'm looking a little bit deeper and looking at what he's trending towards. Since his win in Texas, he has kind of been inconsistent or middling at best. Like he's just had a lot of like T35, like those types of finishes on his resume. But he's been trending a little bit. He finished T16 last week at the U.S. Open and was T22 at the Memorial the week before. Shows me he's like trending a little bit in terms of what you want to see from him. And more importantly, he finished T16 at the U.S. Open while losing 1.7 strokes on approach. Now, I know that's not great for form, but that is what his DNA is. He is a ball striker. He's one of the best young ball strikers we have on the PGA Tour. So the fact that he was able to put together a T16 finish at a major when not gaining strokes on approach tells me that the rest of his game is in a really good spot right now. Now we're coming to a place where I think it's going to really suit his eye. He's long off the tee, so he's going to have a lot of short approaches. He's top 5 in this field in scoring from 125 to 150 yards on approach over the last 20 rounds. He gained more than 5 strokes with the putter last week. So if the putter stays hot and he's just dialed in on approach, we could see a lot of numbers. And the one thing about Akshay and the one thing about this tournament that really married for me is we saw Keegan win this, I believe, at 23 under last year. And Akshay can string together birdies like as good as anyone on the PGA Tour. So this is definitely a flyer on him just being hot this week and hitting those trend lines at the right time. But I think everything is shaping up for him to have a really great week this week.
Who's that in your window in the background? Do they have a pick for us?
That would be my landlord. I believe he's dropping off some mail. I don't think he's watched a round of golf in his life.
No, I like this Akshay pick. And you mentioned, I mean, last week T16, even though he lost strokes with his approach, I'm willing to kind of overlook that and forgive him for that at Pinehurst, because those greens are so hard to not only hit but to keep on it. Like everyone's was saying last week, it's like if you need a 144 shot, you hit it 148.6, it's going to roll off the back. You hit it 142, it's going to roll off the front. So even the best iron players, it's like you're a couple of feet off and it's not going to stick on the green. So I'm willing to forgive him losing strokes approach last week. I don't think that's necessarily a sign that he that he's out of form, especially when you consider how many strokes he gained around the greens. That kind of tells me that he was missing the right spots too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and the other thing is like I think Akshay's biggest advantage in terms of his approach play is when he has a wedge in his hand, and Pinehurst is a long golf course, and there's not a whole lot of wedge opportunities for him. So getting these shorter wedges in his hands, I think plays more into his strength.
All right, my top 5. I said at the start we're going back to the well with a few picks, and this is a guy I picked now in a couple weeks in a row. I'm not going to jump off him yet because I still think he's being extremely underrated based on how he's played. Cashed him last week, top 10. This week we're going top 5. Corey Connors, 5-1. Last week, not only, and I think we talked about this on the show last week, but Corey Connors basically had to finish in the top 10 to make the Canadian Olympic team because Adam Hadwin sniped it from him, and he did exactly that. He's back in the Olympics. I feel bad for Adam Hadwin, but as a Canadian, we need our best golfers there to try to win a gold medal, and really the only realistic chance we have, I think, is Corey Connors because he continues to strike the ball extremely well. Second on the PGA Tour this season in strokes gained approach behind only Scotty Scheffler. And what's really promising, which is why I continue to bet on him, he's now gained strokes and significant strokes in 2 of his last 3 starts. Gained a ton of strokes putting at the Canadian Open, lost some strokes putting at the Memorial Tournament, so I thought maybe the Canadian Open was a little bit of an outlier, but then he gained strokes putting again this past week at the U.S. Open, and his approach numbers are actually his weakest area, which is usually his strongest, but still, T9 finish, kind of similar to Akshay, kind of similar thinking where didn't gain a ton of strokes with his approach, but the areas where he's usually weak, he was extremely strong. So, I mean, if Corey Connors can continue to gain strokes putting, he's going to win an event very soon. Like I said, he has been the second best ball striker in terms of strokes gained approach on the PGA Tour this season. And I think it's only a matter of time. So I'm not going to pick him to win this week. I got him top 5, though, at plus 500. A little bit more aggressive with obviously a little bit of a relatively weaker field with no live golfers and no Rory McIlroy this week. So I'll get a little bit more aggressive top 5, 5-1. And I think he's had a decent T9 at this event last year as well. So he's already had a top 10 finish here.
No, I'm in on Connors as well this week. In my picks on fansided.com, I have my winner pick and Corey Connors in a top 20 parlay. Top 20 parlay, 383 on FanDuel, which obviously has dead heat rules in there. But I think there's a lot of value in that because I think both of them are finishing inside the top 20.
I like it. We got Paul's back in the chat with a top 5 pick. He did not take a top 5 that we are also on. So we got a unique one here. Sam Burns, which I did take a look at Sam Burns. His game's kind of been peaking the past couple weeks. He has them top 5 plus 550. He says, I think this is good value for a guy who might get hot. Putting stroke looks back to early season form. 2+ strokes gained 4 of last 5 events. Could be the start of a run for SB. I agree. I didn't end up pulling the trigger on him, Paul, so I'm glad one of us did. Good luck to you with that. But I certainly considered it because, his game has kind of been quietly peaking, and I don't think a lot of people have really been talking about. T10 at the Canadian Open, T15 at the Memorial, T9 at the U.S. Open.
Yeah, and I mean, he missed the cut at the PGA, but he was T13 at Wells Fargo the week before that, and he gained 7 strokes putting last week at the U.S. Open, which we saw what those greens looked like. 7 strokes putting is a pretty ridiculous number for that. So
yeah. All right, let's get to our pick to win. You're going with a guy 50-1.
That's right, and it's my boy Tom Kim. I mentioned, I believe 2, maybe 3 weeks ago that I was kind of eyeing Tom Kim for the U.S. Open. He didn't play that well at the Memorial, and so it kind of, took me off of him. And he ended up finishing T26, so I'm glad I wasn't on Tom Kim at the U.S. Open. But the T26, I think, really showed me what I needed to see to pull the trigger on Tom Kim. And we're now to a shorter golf course where we've seen Tom Kim thrive. We remember when he had his breakout win at the Wyndham Championship, which is another short course at Sedgefield, which I think compares pretty favorably to what we're going to see this week at TPC River Highlands. And what was it, a quad bogey he made on the first hole, and then he went on to win it. And so, we know he can score on these types of courses. And when you look at the numbers, I'm starting to see what I really want to see from Tom Kim going into a place that suits him well. Last 20 rounds, 6th in strokes gained off the tee, 22nd on approach, gained with the putter in 3 of the last 5. He's first in scoring on par fours that measure 400 and 450 yards. He's first in scoring from 125 to 150 yards on approach. Those are all the key metrics I'm looking for this week, and he is at the top of it in all of them. I think that Tom Kim is really trending towards another win. I don't think one of my things about Tom Kim is at a place like Pinehurst, at a U.S. Open type of setup, at a low, even the Memorial, I don't think that suits Tom Kim particularly well. I think he is made to win Birdie Fest. I think he's made to win tournaments where you have to go low. This is a tournament where you have to go low, and it plays right into his strengths. So I'm on Tom Kim 50-1.
I like it. I think I bet Tom Kim in some form or fashion a couple of weeks ago. So,
I think that's how it came up that I was looking for him at the U.S. Open. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. I'll give you one guess to guess who I'm picking to win.
It's Xander Schauffele.
Xander Schauffele. Listen, in my opinion, and I think I'm right in saying this, there are 3 golfers this season who have been by far the best 3 golfers on the PGA Tour. Scotty Scheffler, Rory McIlroy, and Xander Schauffele. Rory McIlroy is not playing because he needs to go mentally recover from the biggest choke job in U.S. Open history. What's a bigger choke, Rory McIlroy at Pinehurst or Phil Mickelson at Winged Foot?
I think I've got to go Rory, and perhaps that's recency bias, but the seemingly easiness of the shots that he missed to take himself out of the tournament really stands out to me. Yeah.
I think I'm more willing to forgive like a bad drive than I am missing like a 3-foot putt.
2 3-foot putts.
2 3-foot, yeah. So Rory McIlroy's not playing this week, and Scotty Scheffler, who knows what's going on with him? Kind of an under-the-radar storyline from last week was that Scotty Scheffler almost missed the cut for the first time in 2 years. Is his worst finish since October 2022. Got 4 birdies the entire tournament, combined 4 birdies. So a lot of things to be concerned about Scotty Scheffler. I mean, we saw with Nelly Korda. Nelly Korda and Scotty Scheffler on very similar runs. The U.S. Open, Nelly Korda missed the cut, and I think missed the cut in her last start last week too. Or if she didn't miss, she was never in contention. She might have missed the cut. Let me see if I can look this up really quick. But we might see 2 golfers on both the men's and she has now missed 2 straight cuts. We might see the number 1 golfer that was winning almost every single week. That's golf. Sometimes you just lose it. Now, I'm not saying that it's definitely happened with Scotty Scheffler. It's only one event and is an extremely difficult Pinehurst course. But just keep an eye on that. My point in saying Xander Schauffele might be the best golfer in the field this week. Mm-hmm. If Scotty Scheffler doesn't bounce back, Rory's not there, it's Xander Schauffele, and then it's everyone else. And obviously, he goes back to an event that he's won before. He won this event 2 years ago in 2022. I mean, I can list off all the stats that he's first or second on the PGA Tour this season, but I'm not going to do that. He's my guy. He finally has the monkey off his back of winning a major. This is a course he's comfortable at. Like I said, I think he might be the best golfer in the field if Scotty Scheffler doesn't bounce back. So I think this might be the last time this season I'm betting Xander, though. I don't think I'm going to bet him at the Open. I will bet him at the Tour. I'll bet him at the Tour Championship because he loves East Lake, and that might be it. Yeah, he does love East Lake, and he might be. I mean, I don't know what the FedEx Cup standings are right now, but he might be second, so he might be kind of the only one that can catch Scotty. So
yeah, and Scheffler struggled a little bit at the Tour Championship. He hasn't been He's gone in there with a lead before, and he lost it last year to Victor Hovland. So like that's
2 years ago to Rory.
Yeah. So I mean, we've seen it happen before, and Xander, that's a place he plays well. But that's a little jumping ahead. But as soon as I saw that Xander has only finished outside the top 20 here once, I knew this was your outright pick as soon as I saw it.
Let's go. Paul's giving his outright winner in the chat. He says Finau 28-1. I did look at Finau. I like this pick too, Paul. Hasn't put well here in the past, but recent form he's rolling them well, and that is kind of why I've stayed off Finau. Not great course history, but another guy that can get birdies in bunches. So yeah, Tony Finau, if you want to look at a guy whose game is trending in the right direction, I mean, his is the definition of trending in the right direction. He's gone T52, T18, T17, T8, T3. So he's improved his standings in 4 straight events. He does have, T13 at this event in 2022. So, his course history isn't terrible. He missed the cut every year from 2019, so 3 years straight. But he has had some solid finishes, T17 and 2017 as well. So, I looked at Finau. I didn't end up pulling the trigger, but no arguments for me.
Yeah, I think we're all three actually pretty aligned in this because I looked at Finau and I looked at Burns as well. Like you said, didn't pull the trigger on him, but with Finau, one of the things I think is underrated about Tony Finau's game is for being as long of a hitter as he is, he plays short golf courses really freaking well. Like it's just something like one of those oddities, and I don't know if that's just because he's really good with the 3-wood or he's really good at bombing and gouging with the driver on these short courses, but he plays them really well. So it has my attention.
All right, let's get to closest to the win. If you're new to the show, we each pick a golfer at least 100-1 odds or longer to win. Whichever of the 2 golfers finishes further up the leaderboard or closest to the win gets a point that week. The winner at the end of the season, or the loser at the end of the season, has to pay for a round of golf for the winner. I lost last year, but I now have a commanding lead this year. I was 11-4. I was winning heading into the U.S. Open, but Bazay Nuke got the win for Cody. It's now 11-5. I don't know how many events we have left, but it's pretty close to Dormy, so you need another win this week. Who do you got for close to the win?
Yeah, we're going with Ben Griffin at 220-1. I'm taking a little bit of a page from your book, Ian, and I'm looking at literally 2 stats, and that's why I'm going with Ben Griffin. And those 2 stats are, over the last 20 rounds in this field, he is 4th in scoring on par 4s that measure 400 to 450 yards. And he is 7th in the field in birdie or better gain percentage over the last 20 rounds. He's been scoring a lot of birdies, and he plays well on short par 4s. That's why I'm going with Ben Griffin. Let's ride.
All right, I like it. Mine's pretty short as well. I'm going to go Lucas Glover at 150-1. I think it's a pretty decent fit for him. It's as we've talked about, it's kind of a course that shorter hitters can thrive at. He was abysmal at the U.S. Open. He missed the cut, and he lost major strokes in every single area. But in May, he had a T12 at Charles Schwab, T16 at Wells Fargo. So he's had some solid finishes at times recently. His course history is not good. You'd think because if it's a good course fit, it'd be good, but it's not. He misses the cut almost every single year. Does have a T20 in 2020. You have to go all the way back to 2009. He had a T11. But hey, this is what I do with my closest to the win picks. I look at a couple things, and even though he doesn't have course history here, I do think kind of fits his style of play well. And he has had some solid finishes this year, so I'll go Lucas Glover.
The one thing I noticed when diving into the numbers and basically a lot of past finishes at TPC River Highlands in this championship, it's weird that there are a lot of players that seem like they should be good fits but aren't.
Yeah.
Another one that jumped out to me was Colin Morikawa. I had him kind of circled in terms of just how the game that Colin Morikawa plays, he should be a great fit here. He has not played well here, and Lucas Glover fits into that category as well. So it's super interesting to look at that type of stuff.
All right, let's move on to the women's KPMG Women's PGA Championship, the 3rd major of the year. I've been just flirting with victory on the LPGA on an almost a weekly basis. It is killing me. I've had so many golfers finish 1 shot off the lead. It's unbelievable. I had Lydia Ko earlier in the season lose a playoff to Nelly Korda. Nelly Korda had to eagle and birdie her last 2 holes to make the playoff. She did it and won in the playoff. Had Madeline Sagstrom blow a lead late to Rose in that tournament where it's those 2 and then a 15-stroke gap between anyone else. Last week, I had Allie Ewing was leading into the final round, and she finished 1 stroke back. And there's a few other examples. There's a couple of weeks ago, was it Ayaka Fiorway was a stroke back, I think, as well. I mean, every single week I got at least 2 of my outright picks in contention. One of them is like the live betting favorite at some point in the final round, and I'm just finishing a stroke back every single time. So the process is right. The results have not been there this year, but I'm confident. I mean, I had a huge year last year in LPGA. It's not like I'm picking golfers that aren't in contention. The balls aren't bouncing my way this year, but I mean, that happens. So I think I have an extremely good feel on this week's Women's PGA Championship. It's up in Washington. When was the last time we watched a professional golf event up in Washington? I mean, it might be the 1998 PGA Championship because that was the last one that was held at this course, which, if I'm pronouncing correctly, is Sahali Country Club in Washington. It is tree-lined. It looks like a golf course that I play in Canada because it is actually, I played a golf course a couple of days ago. It's fairway and then trees. There's no rough. I'm talking about the course I played. I think this course is very similar. There's no rough. You basically have to hit it on the fairway, and if not, it's a lost ball because the woods and the trees are extremely thick and deep. I think I lost 12 balls in my round the other day. And I'm going to read a couple of quotes from some of the men's golfers when the PGA Championship was here in 1998. Ernie Els said, "And it's a pretty good test, too. Trees come into play everywhere, and if you miss the fairway, you're probably going to make bogey. You better hit it as straight as you can." Davis Love III said you have to hit 2 very good iron shots in a row to get on the green. For me, it's probably 1 or 2 drivers the whole course. You don't ever really get to a hole where you can just bomb a driver down there and have an easy shot. Colin Montgomery said it's a lovely course. It's a beautiful place to play and a beautiful test of golf. The trees get in the way too often. That's the only problem. From above, I'm sure it looks like you can walk single file down the fairway. So driving accuracy is basically, obviously that in recent form are basically the only 2 things I'm handicapping this week. And obviously, I mean, we're not going to take complete, darts here. We are, some good golfers as well. But, like, for example, Ataya Titical, second on the odds list. Do not bet her. She's 124th in driving accuracy. She's going to be in the trees all tournament. It's going to be a disaster. So that's my quick breakdown for the women's Chambers Bay is in Washington as well. Yeah. Okay. Good call, Paul. Chambers Bay. Yeah. So let's get into our picks. Cody, I know you're not an LPGA guy, but you did dive into it quick, so you'd have a pick for the show, and it is one that I'm on as well. So this is a squad ride, and we might have had a squad ride in this exact golfer earlier this season, maybe.
I mean, it's hard not to. It's Megan Kang at 40-1. Leads the LPGA Tour in strokes gained tee to green this year. Just a ball striking machine. The putter has been whatever the opposite of that is, whatever the opposite of machine. She is losing 0.97 strokes per round with the putter. But you look back at the 1998 PGA Championship. Who won that event, Ian?
Vijay Singh, his first major.
And what can Vijay Singh not do? Putt. And he's a ball striker who puts the ball in. Like, tee to green was awesome, but putter was would always seem to kill him when he had shortcomings. And so when you look at Megan Kang, I think that she has a Vijay Singh like game that could really play well here. And on top of that, she finished T2 at the ShopRite the last time we saw her, and she gained more than 3.5 strokes putting. So maybe even the putter's getting hot. Maybe that's not the weakness right now. And with her tee to green play this year, I just really like her, and I think the value there at 40-1 is really there.
Yeah, I'm betting on her as well. As I mentioned, driving accuracy, 8th on the LPGA in driving accuracy, hits 83.7% of fairways, so that's going to be massive this week. So, yeah, I love that Megan Kang pick. My top pick, and you can go dive into that pick a little bit more. I wrote up the article over on Sports Illustrated. You can go read it. I've bet on this golfer. I didn't bet on her last week. I didn't think it was a good course fit, but I've bet on her so much the past 2 months. She has to win one of these events. It's a Yaka fairway again. Extremely good form, ranks 4th on the LPGA in total strokes, is one of the more accurate drivers. I think she's 4th in LPGA in driving accuracy. But for my pick for the show, I'm going to give one out, a long shot here for the folks at home. We're going 80-1.
Ooh.
Allison Corpuz. Corpuz. Thank you. Whoever says you're not an LPGA guy.
Look, I don't handicap LPGA. I watch a lot of LPGA golf, but I just don't handicap it that often. I couldn't have said it more how important driving accuracy is. So let's just go ahead and bet on the most accurate driver of the golf ball on the LPGA. It's really that simple. She hits 86.6% of fairways, which is
Crazy. I don't. What's the PGA Tour driving accuracy leader? Are they hitting 86.6% of fairways? I wonder.
It's Sepp Straka, and it's 78.6. I think I literally looked at this before the show. It's the only reason I know that. I'm not like an encyclopedia or anything.
So there you go. More accurate than that. Now. Obviously, it's kind of tough to compare the two. Obviously, the men are hitting it longer and all that stuff, but still. That is extremely impressive. I wish I could hit 86.6% of fairways. So if anyone's not going to be in the trees this week, it's Corpuz. Is that how you pronounce it?
Mm-hmm. It is Corpuz. I promise you. Because she's also she's a past major winner, too, on top of that.
Yes. And not only that, she is coming off her best start of the season. So she just rounded into form at the perfect time. T5 at last week's Meyer LPGA Classic. So there you go. 70-1, 80-1. I think there are some 80-1s available out there. Alison Corpuz. Fantastic pick. Once again. I mean, maybe I didn't read this anywhere, but maybe they cut down a ton of trees since the 1998 PGA Championship. But I've been looking at pictures from some of the, the social media that's out there, and it looks like the type of courses I play in Canada and in Eastern Canada specifically, which is fairway and then trees. Like I said, I played one like that 2 days ago, and it was not fun. Well, it was fun, but it was tough. So
I wish I could play a course with trees. New Mexico, not exactly with tree-lined golf courses. Mostly a lot of hunting for my ball in the middle of the desert.
Yeah, I think me and you play the most opposite golf courses possible. Because mine's it's just trees. And it's a course that I watched the PGA LPGA for that matter too, and they're in trees, but it's like room where you can find the ball and still hit it out. Like the courses I played, you can't even walk in there because it's just you're gonna scratch up your legs, let alone you're not gonna find the ball. If it goes in the woods, it's just gone. It's just gone, and no one will ever find it ever again. So I'm interested to watch the LPGA play at a course where, maybe it's not quite to that extreme, but from all the quotes and from what everyone's saying and from the pictures, if you put it in the woods, you're toast. So it's going to be a fun week on the LPGA.
Yeah, and then on top of that, I play golf at 6,500 feet of elevation too. So, got everything just flying like crazy.
There you go. I have never played any courses like that. Just a lot of trees mostly. All right. That has been the show. Thank you so much for watching. Subscribe to the Bet-Sided YouTube channel. Give us a like. Any final thoughts here before we wrap this up, Cody?
Tough break for Rory. Rory's been my guy for a while, and really tough to see. Hate it for him. He's going to win a major at some point, but I think I might be joining you on I will not be betting on it when it happens. Yeah,
I'll be happy. I'll be happy for when it happens, but I'm not living through what happened this past week because there could still be a few more choke jobs like that in the cards for him.
Definitely, unfortunately.
Yeah. Paul with a scorching hot take. He says, "Scorching hot parting take. U.S. Open, the Masters. Thanks again, gentlemen. See you next week." Disagree personally, but
I see where he's coming from. I also personally disagree, but to me, it's just it's like trying to, compare apples and oranges to me.
Yeah.
Because they're two very different types of tests, in my opinion.
They are. But the Masters just has, it just has a little something that the U.S. Open doesn't.
And one thing it doesn't have that the U.S. Open does is the first 2 days of the U.S. Open can be a bit of a slog because you got 156 players playing one of the most difficult courses they're going to see all year. So it takes for freaking ever. Yeah.
All right. Thank you all so much for watching. We'll be back next week. I believe it's the Rocket Mortgage Classic next week.
Shouts to Bryson.
Yep. And then the John Deere Classic the week after.
Oh, yeah. We're really hitting in the heavy hitters now.
Yeah. All right. Good luck with your bets this week. Gamble or bless. And we'll be back next week. Goodbye.